the headlines. This is my poster for DACA Life After the Headlines. One of it is to humanize the story of dreamers, people that have come here undocumented because of the choices that their families have made. They're here trying to pursue work and education, and right now their status is threatened because on September 5, 2017, the Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced a decision to end DACA. So that means that these people will lose their status and be threatened with deportation and stuff. So the DREAM Act has been like this ongoing process, starting since 2001 to this moment. So there's been several documentaries about undocumented people and their stories and stuff, but the thing that makes my documentary special is that it is trying to cover these people's stories separate from how the media covers them, because in September, after the decision was announced to end DACA, there was a lot of media highlight to these people. And then I was kind of following it, and I'm like, okay, are we not going to talk about this anymore? Are we going to pretend like these people's stories are just going to end after the new thing comes? So I was doing some follow-up research online to try to see, is the media still checking in with these people? Are they trying to see how these people's stories are unfolding? And it wasn't really, that wasn't the case. It went from headline news to almost like a feature story, which is not as big of a deal. So that's where the title came in, After the Headlines, to basically say that these are the stories of these people's experiences after we stop covering them. And as a journalist, as a person that really consumes media, that's important, number one, to tell people's stories in a way that gives honor to them, and number two, to hold the media accountable for the content they produce. So this will be, it's going to be a short film, like it says, but I want to produce a sizzle reel first to get out this information, to have this available to the public, and have this information in a way that tells these people's stories in a very powerful way, but then also have a documentary, a short documentary that gives the whole thing, that gives their stories and that completes their stories basically. So I have some interview clips, and just so you can see what I've done so far. The person that you're about to watch is Teresa Lee. She's actually the person that inspired the DREAM Act. So she's a really big person to have an interview, and we'll talk about it after, I guess. So. Can we look it up on maybe no, which is about the
yeah. Okay.
Be the same thing, right? Yeah, that's what I downloaded.
So that one you just did I'll say around. Yeah, just
okay. Alright, well maybe I might not be able to play it. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's frustrating. Okay.
flats because they don't want to have the actual building
Okay.
because we have.
Well, is it okay if you guys watch it on my laptop? Because that was like really weird to see.
You can plug your laptop.
Okay.
Yeah, they just won't see it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, they're undocumented because once you give the police information, they're gonna have all this, and just that fear of like them being exposed almost was just enough for them to be like, oh yeah, we'll take the fall. So the interview was way too long, so it wouldn't get to the point. That's why I cut it off there. But basically, they got thousands of dollars in debt, and they already didn't have jobs because they couldn't work. So that basically, like, they couldn't pay for his care, her brother's care and everything, and it was just like that's their reality, and those are the stories that, there's so much more that like I'm trying to tell through this documentary. I have a little technical flaw. Most everybody probably noticed it. The shadow in the bookcase, which is like so frustrating to me. I did not see that when we were shooting and stuff. We were talking. I was interviewing her, but what I need is someone that's good with After Effects, because I'm really hoping to get rid of that. Just that's really frustrating to me, and I don't know if anyone's good at that, but that's something. Also, I'm hoping to.
Could you show us what the bookshelf thing looks like?
Yes, I can. Yeah, just that right there. And like I talked to someone about it, and they said like it wouldn't be too hard because it's like they're in the same spot. It's not like he's moving around a lot. But I just need to get rid of that. And
Do you have footage without her shadow on that area?
there's some closer ones. There's some shots where it's closer up, but I think it's still a problem. I like what is it? I know I'm gonna have to reshoot this, but like for the actual short documentary, just because this is not gonna work, this is just too low quality for me. But at least for the sizzle reel, I was just hoping like if that's possible, because that's coming out in February. So yeah, just think about that. And then also there's this video that I need text like for the doc, like when sorry, I was with that. Like a lot of text, it will be text based so that we don't have to like have people explain the facts that are happening. I'd like to like show some facts like in between. So here's a sample from a documentary from Ken Burns that Shayna showed me that I really like the style that they did. So. And just like the visual aspect of like posts, like that would be super helpful. So that's about it. I just wanted to show like a sample of something that I've seen done, and you can let me know now or in the future if you think that you might know someone. I'd really appreciate any help. So that's it. Thank you guys.
Okay. Just because this is fun. Yeah. First, I just want to say hi. No, just want to say hi. All right. So my ICTV show, along with one other person who could not make it today, we're making an animated show that's going to be on ICTV, and we are. It's going to be essentially the head writer's in here. You can answer any story or answer questions. But it's going to be a 5-episode show, 1 10-minute premiere, and the others will be 5 minutes each. That's the plan, at least at the moment. We can obviously, depending on how much time we have and how long things take, we're able to like cut certain things and cut episodes, make sure everything we get to tell the story. But the show itself is going to be about a girl who falls asleep in class. Her calculus class, she's like very bored by it, so she falls asleep and then wakes up turning into one of the doodles that she scribbled in the margin of her notebook. And the entire the series will be about her trying to get out of this notebook world, which, what do we call it, Limelight? It's called Limelight. Okay, so this is the main villain. Don't let his cuteness distract you. He's very evil. I just love the characters. Yeah, these are concepts. This is just concept art for some of the characters. This is the calculator. Molly, another character. Well, this is the pitch I sent. So also, aside from the story and the actual pitch, I'm looking for crew and specifically animators and editors, if anyone's interested in doing that. Oh, and if you have no experience with Adobe Animate, that's fine. We're going to introduce that, like kind of ease you into it and teach you how to do it. Let me see if I can show you how the characters will be made. There's just a lot of things on screen.
They all get
So I'm just going to use King, since we already have both of them. We're just going to use King Calculus as an example of how the character designs, like specifically when we animate them, how it's going to work.
yeah.
Alright, so here we have it's just my kind of features. Okay, so this is there. So this is a video I showed you before with waving. This is just a simple motion test I made together for the pitch. It didn't take that long, so we're going to go. This is how we're going to design. Well, most character designs. King Calculus is a little different because his body is different than the other characters. Because a lot of the characters are going to be stick figures. However, a lot of the characters also have mouths, so we don't have to worry about lip syncing for someone like King Calculus, the calculator. There's a bunch of characters that don't have mouths. So it's going to be relatively simple in terms of a lot of animation, but I'm going to show you really quick how we're going to be designing our characters and how it works. So as you can see, everything is a symbol. Well, except for his body. His main torso, his body, which I've designated as these three parts, are just drawings, so they're not symbolized. But the eyes are symbols. Each one, if you go into this, each one's also its own symbol. So everything is basically going to be pre-made because over winter break, me and the other producer are going to be designing all the characters, so we can just go in and be ready to animate. So it's going to be relatively easy because all the resources, if you want to become an animator, will be provided to you. The only thing is the arms. I know it's a symbol, but the arms are not symbols. The arms will be symbols for like still shots when they're not moving, but any sort of arm movements will not be symbols. They will have to be hand drawn, and they're stick figures, so it's not going to be too hard. But just so you have an idea, to give a cool effect, we're going to be doing hand-drawn motion blurs, because I personally enjoy that style a lot more, and it's pretty simple. All you got to do is just make it really wide and curvy, and that's how it looks, because that's how it looks when you move your arm very fast. But that's how the animation is going to work. It's going to be relatively simple if you are interested, and if you've never used Animate before, it's not that hard to get into. Any questions? Backgrounds. I'm not designing backgrounds. I would have been able to provide backgrounds today, but again, the producer could not make it. She has some family issues to attend to.
So what's the environment?
The environment's going to be, I really wish I had, but it's going to be the blue lines of a notebook, of like a, the loose leaf paper, notebook paper, red margin, but So that's just going to be like a constant. That's not going to be moving. We haven't done multiple angles, so we're not sure how that would look. But it's going to be kind of just always there, kind of like always static, always being like the same kind of constant throughout every shot. We don't know. Again, we haven't done multiple angles, so we don't know how that look. We might end up figuring something else out, but that's the plan at the moment. But all the worlds, the environments, the sets themselves will be drawn. The other producers drawing all of them. We have five main like areas that we're going to be using. Each one is very different, and each one has like a few different like set angles we can use, but it's going to be mostly repeating the kind of set design, which is what a lot of cartoons do anyway.
Can you run us through kind of the storyline?
Oh yeah. Okay, so the first step, unless
I mean, she falls asleep, she wakes up in her notebook.
Do you want to answer this?
Sure, okay.
So this is the head writer. So.
Yeah, so the reason there's 5 is because it's a 5-subject notebook that she goes into. She has notes for all of her separate classes. So each world is a subject. So the first subject that she falls into is history, so that's kind of like a colonial type thing. And then the second one is English, and so that one's just like a world with a lot of books. It's kind of like the labyrinth type thing, but it's made out of books, so that's got a lot of like throwaway English jokes, a lot of that. The next world is going to be gym. She has notes for gym because she hates gym, and so she sits out a lot and she just doodles. After that is astronomy, I believe. Astronomy.
Well, we're going to say science, but
it's
the word
science
is going to be
class,
astronomy.
but yeah, it's going to be like a spacey type world. And then the last one is calculus. And so the entire conflict of the story is that she doesn't, believe in herself. She doesn't believe in her art, and she doesn't understand that she's capable of like doing important things, doing things that other people enjoy. So she's kind of realizing that throughout the arc as she tries to get out of her notebook. So it's kind of like a Wizard of Oz type story, but the characters aren't from her class; they're her own creations. And so she has a friend, Quincy, who is a doodle that she used to draw in her old notebooks, and that she drew for the first time today in this notebook. So when she wakes up, he's also lost, because he's never been in this world before. So both of them are lost, and then the robot, Molly, who you guys saw, is her companion that's given to her by the king of history, Abraham Lincoln. And he gives them her, and she kind of leads them around and tells them how to, helps them through. She's kind of like an advocate for that. So that's kind of the thing. So each episode has a very separate plot. Like the first one, she has to fight the army of smudges. King Calculus's army of smudges, her half-erased creations.
I can find a picture of the Avery.
You can show online. Under the King Calculus show online.
What's up? Oh, here they are. Okay. So these are the villagers of the different subjects. We have history. Here's the health PE villager, the astronomy villagers, and then the smudge. Those are King Calculus's minions, and they're all doodles that she's like erased, but like not fully. So they're all bitter because they've been erased. The English world does not have any. It does not have any citizens or villagers because it's mainly going to be a lot of like throwaway jokes, and it's going to be only one other significant character in the episode. So that episode's going to be mostly like character interactions, but the only other main character I think in that episode is Jane Austen, right?
And the Raven.
Oh, and Dinky. Dinky the Raven.
The Raven from
Nevermore.
Nevermore. Yeah, he's gonna also kind of follow them.
And he's very annoying because all he says is Nevermore. Very loudly and obnoxiously. Yeah. So again, and each world kind of is based on different things. Like we said, the history world is colonial looking. Health is based off of Sparta, and it's my personal favorite because the main villain is Mr. Zero, and he throws flaming dodgeballs as his weapon. And the big conflict, the conflict of that episode is a big dodgeball tournament. So that's how they escape. Here's Quincy looking nervous. Yeah, so all the characters are stick figures, so the art direction is going to be very simple. But as you can already see, most of the characters don't have mouths that are presented because lip syncing is hard and a lot of time. So it's going to be a very movement heavy, but I think movement's a lot more fun and easier anyway than doing lip syncing, because lip syncing is like just repeating and looking for the right thing. So obviously we can't get away with just ditching that to do, but we can do as little as possible.
Are you drawing everything and you just need the animators to animate it? And what's happening with audio?
Audio, we're gonna need a full press. Here's the thing, like, just really quick, even if ICTV doesn't pick this up, we're still making it. We're gonna turn it into a web series if ICTV does not pick up our show. So we're gonna be looking for crew no matter what. But I'm just focusing on getting animators now, because animators are, we're gonna need a lot of them to make sure we get everything done on time. In terms of animation, the character turnarounds will be provided to everyone, but that's going to be the only thing that the animators are going to need to draw is the arms, because the arms, we agreed that the arms need to be more flowy and noodly and more organic. And if we use symbols are much easier, which is why we're doing it for like leg, the body, the head, and all the facial expressions and stuff. It's going to simplify that process, but the arms are going to be the only thing that the animators would have to draw if they join. And then obviously we're going to need an audio team to record dialogue for the actors, because we'll be looking for actors, voice actors. We need people to record the dialogue. We need people to Foley. If we need people to work with Foley to capture sound designers if they want to create sound effects for the show to give it like a unique feel. We're gonna need like a full project. We're also gonna need a composer, but I don't know if anyone here would know that at the beginning of the next semester. So if you've never used animating, you've always like had an interest in animating, it's gonna be very easy to jump in.
Mike has a potential question.
Yes, Mike.
What did you learn in Power Down that you would improve upon?
No analysis, less analysis. No, well, I think in terms of not preparedness, but like getting more things done before the show actually starts. So me and Kristen are going to be finishing all the pre-production stuff before the spring semester even starts. That includes all scripts, all character turnarounds, all environments, all facial expressions, all mouths. All that stuff will be done, so when the next semester starts, it's going to be entirely dedicated to production, and that's also in terms of editors, because it's multiple episodes. We're going to do one episode at a time, so when one episode's finished animating, the animators will just move right on to the next episode, and then editors will begin their episode. So as soon as episode 1's finished, we just hand off all the footage to the editors, they edit that, and while the editors are editing episode 2, and then if the editors finish first, we'll just they get a little break for the next episode.
Do you have more or less like storyboard? Will you have storyboard?
We'll have storyboard. Yes, no, storyboards will be done over everything for grilling production will be done over.
The release schedule.
The release schedule. Well, the thing is, we would have had a better release schedule, except ICTV did not provide us with any dates. So use as a reference, including like the pitch night, like the recruitment night. They didn't tell us when 2018's recruitment night would be, so we're not sure how much time we have. But we used last year's as a reference, so I think it was the first weekend of February, or maybe the last weekend of January.
Yeah, so 2 weeks after you came back.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was the last weekend of January. So we use that as a reference. So the first week would be dedicated to finding the cast and crew. So we'd look through all the applications, we'd get all the animation team, and then we'd hold auditions. So a week after, and no more than a week after recruitment night, we'd have like everyone that's involved with the show. Maybe cast might take a few extra days because we do have to have callbacks for Max because she's the only character that appears in live action.
Yeah, that's to be considered. It's also blind auditions.
Yeah, no, what we're going to do is the initial audition is going to be blind auditions. The initial audition is going to be blind auditions, and then callbacks for Max will be not blind auditions because we need to see how she looks. Because A, she's appearing in live action, and B, we are basing her character off of her. Like her stick doodle is going to be based off of the actual actress.
One last thing, and then we can talk later about it, but just pay attention to where you have your anchor points on your drawings.
Yes. I put all the anchor points for the legs and the waist. Yeah, don't worry. I paid attention. Any other questions?
Yours is about cake toppers who are excited to be on a cake and for a wedding, but then tragedy strikes, and it's all about, you know, boy meets girl, and it's a very streamlined, storyline, but it focuses on the wedding toppers. We like to think of ourselves kind of like making, not a Pixar film, but that sort of idea where we're focusing on inanimate objects and their feelings toward the human world and the interactions between it. The workflow is pretty simple, so what we're doing is we're shooting background, which are called plates, and then we're shooting figures, which are silhouettes. And basically we're shooting live action people on green screen, and then we're going to silhouette them into the little icons that you see in the corner and put them on top of the back plates. And so it's a very post-production heavy process, because we have, before we're starting to shoot, we're going to have to think about how the plate's going to be formatted. We're going to be thinking about how the figures are going to be moving around, because there's a dance sequence, there is interaction between them, and it's how they come together is the biggest part. And so here I created a camera to quote-unquote visualization. So here's our actor in front of the green screen. We're going to take away the background, and then we're going to flatten them into a cake topper so they can act as if they are a cake topper. This is our end desired look, just to give you guys a general idea. But we do need more help. The three main roles that we need help with are compositors, assistant editors, and digital image technicians. So compositors is kind of the highest level that we are asking for. They're going to be doing the big work, and they're going to be doing a lot of work in After Effects. So they're going to key the background, they're going to silhouette the figures, and they're going to mask the lighting from the background footage. It sounds like a simple step process, but it is a lot of work. And so that's why we need a lot of compositors for it. After Effects and compositing experience is required, but we will have an orientation and we can go over things. So if you have experience with After Effects, please still apply, because we do need a lot of people and their help. We need people with their own hard drive. The only reason I put this on here is I've had previous productions for editors where they randomly told me 2 days into shooting that they didn't have their own hard drive and they need to borrow mine. We can figure out file storage if hard drives are an issue, but I feel like if you're working in post-production, you should invest yourself in a hard drive because you're going to need it eventually. Assistant editors, they're basically what they're going to do is they're going to take all the compositing and they're going to put it into a basic timeline, and they're going to edit things together. This will be synced up to music. So we need somebody that has Premiere experience and editing experience to sync the actions up to the music that will be created. We're licensing our own, so we're not creating our own music, but we are buying the music with part of the grant money. And like I said before, it's just creating the project, getting a basic thing. We have our director is also acting as our editor, so he's going to go and do a final pass afterward. Your job is to do kind of like the grunt work, quote unquote, and get things set for him. So when he comes through for his final pass, he can make small tweaks that he feels are appropriate. And again, having your own hard drive, because this is going to be such a data-heavy production, we need as many people with their own hard drives as possible. The last person is a digital image technician. This is quote-unquote the most low-level job that we're asking for. You're going to manage, organize, and relabel clips. This 100% have to have your own hard drive, because what's going to happen is I'm going to take the footage off of set, I'm going to back it up on our backup hard drive, I'm going to back it up on my personal hard drive, and then I'm going to hand you the footage. And so you need a lot of good organization and file management skills, because you need to basically take in the footage, relabel it, organize it to our file standards, and then give it back to us. This is, while a lot of work and kind of a lot of grunt work, it is one of the most important jobs on any set, and especially this set, because it is so post-heavy. We need to know what all the footage is and how to locate it. If you're interested, I put up my email, dhouston@ithga.edu. We're trying to get applications before January 10th so we can solidify our crew. You can also email me with please send a resume. You don't need a cover letter. I'll know what you're applying for. In the email, just say what position you're applying for. While I'm on that, we are also looking for crew positions for our on-set production. That would be during spring break, so you need to be in Ithaca for spring break. We'll be traveling out of Ithaca, but you need to be in here to secure the transport to the director's hometown, which is where we are shooting. I think that is all. I will open it up for questions now, so go ahead and unmute yourself. Anything?
Here's my first question for you, Dan.
Sure.
So how friendly is this to people who have never touched post-production before?
So, the only thing that I would say is not, it's open is the digital image technician, because that's something that we can train during orientation. The rest of it does need some experience before. Assistant editor is not somebody who necessarily needs to have did a thesis before. It doesn't need to be somebody who is super, but it needs to be somebody who, if I give them footage, can turn it into a Premiere project and work from there. Yeah, exactly. It's comfortable in Premiere. It's the basic requirement, because we will not have enough time to train somebody in Premiere. But that being said, it's not like if you have never touched Premiere before next semester, if you were able to get yourself familiar in Premiere, you could still apply for the position and we could accept you if you were able to present us for something.
What is the timeline?
So David technically doesn't have an end date because it's just a grant from the school. We are hoping to shoot, to have our final done for finals week and thesis screenings, because we want to use that platform to show our thing, to originally present our production, and then afterward send it off to films. I have a more detailed timeline that I can talk with later, but right now we're worried about getting our crew together and finalizing our, basically finalizing our crew and getting ready for production.
Awesome. Other questions?
When is orientation?
When is orientation?
That is a good question. There is a date for it. Sure. So we have a tentative schedule. It will probably change during our break, because we're gonna, a lot of the, my director, the producers, and I are gonna get together and go over it again, just to make sure, because this schedule was made for the pitch, so we have to reevaluate what it will be after, now that we've secured the David Ames Award. And it says, according to our original thing, February 11, 2018. Again, it would be around that time. I don't think it would be later than February 11th. If you're not available on that day, don't worry about it. We can hold, other specific orientation for people that are applying. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
We got one more.
What consists of the application process? Just submitting a resume or
Yes, so we just need a resume, and then you would the resume is really just we have name and previous experience. Then we would afterward contact you if you're interested, and talk with you about whatever position you're applying for. And you can apply to multiple positions, but unfortunately you would only be able to secure one because of the amount of work that is involved with the project.
Any other questions?
What dates do you want the DIT for? Is it just?
So digital DIPs, we are using that term a little bit more loosely than other productions. We would hope for them to be available during spring break, so they can start, basically I can hand them footage at the end of each day and they can start working on it. Because we have 1 week where we're shooting everything, it's not imperative that they are there, but it would be a strong adding to their candidacy if they're available during spring break to be there. They wouldn't necessarily need to be on set, but they would need to be with us, and then we would probably find another position for them on set so that we could hand them the footage afterward and they could at least organize it, not necessarily label, because that's a long and intensive process. Any last questions?
No, I think Calvin can go.
Okay, Calvin, your turn now.
I've turned the stage over.
Alrighty. Oh boy. Oh dear. Okay.
Ready?
Okay, so we'll do that. That's alright.
You gotta share your screen.
Gonna do. Okay, so I'm gearing up for my thesis film this spring semester, which after all my work on through my animation classes in the past year and on like Power Down and such like that, I want to continue with an animated thesis, which I am calling martial arts, which is, the log line to the concept is essentially 3 renegade artists train like their talents to essentially just like fight with each art weapon as their choice, and essentially, they fight in a world that dares not to give them the respect or the income that they deserve. So the whole process for the project is that I would love to create a sort of narrative piece for it, but seeing as though I only have 1 semester to make this, I decided that I wanted to make just a series of shorts about 1 to a minute 30 a piece, and maybe a short intro sequence too, just to focus on each of the characters' fighting style and to kind of like show off what they can do with each of their art weapons. So the workflow, essentially, it's going to be animated in Flash, also known as Adobe Animate. All of it will be done through like layout, rough animation, and cleanup animation. That will all be done in Flash. They will all be exported and then composited into After Effects, synced up with like audio and like visual effects and stuff like that, and then like strung together into a Premiere file. So the positions I'm mainly looking for is people to help with like the production aspects, because I'm going to be animating this mostly myself, so any help that I can get with like the actual animating process would be indisposable. So the main stuff I'm looking for is like layout artists, cleanup, and background artists to supply for most of the shots as well. So pretty much the description for the layout artists is that they would be taking like a sample Flash file and importing like the audio and video from our animatics, so that would be like the storyboard and the dialogue file. They would import it into the Flash file, and then they would adjust it to the appropriate frame length, so the animator knows how much he has to work with, and he can essentially just like jump right in and begin the animation process already. They would also have to organize the shots with a naming convention and organize the files into specific folders. Flash experience / drawing ability is not required for this position. You just have to like be interested in post-production and animation. I strongly encourage anybody who likes animation to apply. And of course, orientation will be provided. I will show you how to organize the file and set it up, how it will be to speed along production. The next position would be the cleanup animators. They would essentially take the rough animation that would be already animated for them, and then they would draw over it on new layers with like clean black lines and fill in the color according to the model sheet. This one does require a basic knowledge of Flash, because it involves working with hand-drawn animation, it involves working with symbol animation, and if you're at all interested in like the 2D digital drawn animation, I strongly encourage you to apply, because cleanup animation just makes everything look so neat and pretty, and it's integral to the process of this production. And of course, I will provide orientation for this position, because there are a lot of cool tricks that I can show you. And I'm also looking for background artists, because of course I would need some help with that.
With post-production on this, because I'm going to be doing the shooting for this over my winter break and over my summer. So probably going to need help during the summer. And also, that last clip that I had of me talking to my dad, my friend had, like, he adjusted the microphone and his arm got in the shot. So I was hoping to edit that out with After Effects, but I don't really know how. So kind of just just generally like that, and maybe just some like visual effect, or visual opinions, I guess, afterwards. But that's all I need help with. I don't need help with any shooting or crew during that or anything. Yeah.
How long is your documentary?
It's a feature film, like,
Oh, it's a feature film.
because I have a lot more to interview. And a lot of places to go.
Are you actually gonna get all the shooting done by then?
I doubt it, but,
You're gonna do all the local?
yeah, Carol told me that probably, like, she gave me a set end date, and that was August, but she didn't think that would actually happen, but like, my goal is to get it done by August. It depends.
And you're looking for a post crew that does editing specifically and then a couple things that are VFX, or mostly VFX?
Mostly, like, I know how to, like, I edited this, like, I know how to generally edit, but I would need help with a lot of other things, because I'm not like a pro edit or anything, and then After Effects, just things like the arm of the shot, and editing that out, like, I don't know how to do that. I could probably figure it out, but I'd rather have someone who actually knows what they're doing. Yeah, so it's definitely gonna happen, because I have all the resources, and I have the team and stuff to do it, but I just have to get the After Effects team to do it.
Just so I know, you're talking about doing a short film to do later the feature film, or you're actually gonna shoot the feature film?
I'm gonna shoot this. I'm gonna shoot feature film.
Okay, that's right, yes.
Yeah.
So you need help with somebody editing the feature film,
Mm-hmm.
not just the
She's
program?
gonna edit. You're gonna edit.
I'm gonna edit a lot of it, but I do need help.
Yes.
So, you're gonna need people not next semester,
Probably, yeah, probably like
more like fall.
fall, yeah. Fall, 2018. Or end of the summer.
Do I have shots that we
Can you show us the shot that you used
the cave background?
Thank you, good question.
Yeah, like, so you adjust.
You just go through the whole, like,
Yeah.
Does you ever cross?
And that's my dorm room.
Yeah.
So like I could get another shot of that area. The way
That might be a
furniture.
Hello?
Very
It's just
well,
just barely.
so close. It's gonna be easy. It was almost a 30-second thing, but now it's like a 20-minute thing.
Okay.
That's the entire nice photo on the shoulder that you see in the.
Yeah, that's it.
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
You don't need to remove it. It actually adds to the
Yeah.
realness, casual, that you're not alone,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel artifice,
That
it's
is
just
very
real.
impromptu.
But that adds to the fact that this is real and actually adds tension. It's not the same thing having a conversation with your dad alone than in front of someone. It's kind of like, puts me in the position of that person, and you're kind of inviting me to be part of this discovery with you, and I feel really privileged to be part of that. So narratively, I think it adds. And on the same note, I don't know if that is something that they're required to, but if it's just for that little moment, it feels natural.
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
agree
worry about
with
it.
you go there. Like in other documentaries that I've seen where that happens, like if it's an intimate moment, things happen, and that's the shot you have, so you work with it.
Yeah. It's gonna be so expensive or something that really doesn't, I mean, you won't add to the project once you've done it.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's that difficult of a shot,
No.
so.
It's still doable.
I might have like, I don't know how much that'll be, but like, I might have just like that out of the shot and that in the shot as well, just to, like have the option. But,
I think we'll have to see how your edit goes, because you're looking around in the room too, so.
yeah, because
It
you're like,
kind of- Right, so it might seem odd if it feels like you're alone and you're looking all around. So, like you were saying, it probably helps that you actually see a person that's helping you film this too. But either way, it doesn't seem like it'll be that difficult.
I mean, it just,
compressed.
this is pretty compressed, but I have like the original clip without any edits on it. So I like adjusted the lighting and stuff for this one. I didn't adjust very well, but.
So it's mainly after effects. You don't need color, you don't need any other.
For color, I would like to keep it back, just it's, I'm like not, I usually choose weird colors. I like weird colors and no one else likes them, so I might need feedback on that.
Okay. Well, I'd say if you don't get any interest today, you can bring it back after you shoot stuff this winter. And then we can actually see more of the stuff you're working on and see how your style of edit is going so far. Because I know when you pitched it last, it has so many possibilities of how you're going to edit it together that it would be good to start seeing some